Welcome to the PIO Podcast, a forum for all things public information related for police, fire, EMS, and local government. A place to grow and develop your public information skills. I am your host, Robert Tornaveni. I have over 11 years of experience as a PIO and 27 years as a law enforcement officer. I am proud to announce that we have partnered with the PIO Toolkit to expand and grow the podcast. Thank you to Christine Townsend and Law Publications for this amazing opportunity. To contact the show, email robert@piotoolkit.com. We need your feedback on how we're doing. Please rate us on whatever platform you listen or send us a review via email. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast to get notified of the latest episodes. Thank you for listening. Sit back and enjoy the next episode. Good afternoon. Today on the PIO podcast, we have Micki Trost. She's a Strategic Communications Director for the Colorado Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. Micki, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me today.
So how long have you been the Strategic Communications Director?
So I've worked for the state for a little over 10 years, and I spent my first 9 years as a PIO working for a local fire district.
And so what is the responsibilities of the Strategic Communications Director's position?
So like a lot of public information officers, I do internal communications and external communications. A lot of my job is focused on the external side with social media management, website content, mobile app management, media relations. For this specific job, what I focus on is being the lead public information officer in the State Emergency Operations Center. And really that piece is coordinating all of the different state agencies that might be involved in a disaster, and hopefully supporting our local public information officers so that we stay coordinated and that we provide them the support they need.
Okay, great. And so how big is the communications department in the State Department of Security, Homeland Security and Emergency Management?
It's just me.
It's just you. Wow. That's amazing. Just one person. That's amazing. That's a lot of work that you have to do then.
It is, but you have to remember that when we activate for an emergency, one of the first things we evaluate is, are we standing up a formal joint information center and bringing in the other 26 agency PIOs who might be involved in a disaster, or are we staying in an informal remote only support to our local jurisdiction? So it can be 2 state agencies involved, or it can be like COVID where all 26 state agencies had a piece of it.
Gotcha. Okay, that works. That's understandable now. So there's a lot of coordinating, there's a lot of joint coordination that's going on.
Absolutely. And so in the state of Colorado, we're a home rule state. So our local jurisdiction is the lead on the messaging. It's their disaster. So our role is really to become integrated and support those local public information needs and to make sure that we stay coordinated with what they have going out the door.
Excellent. I'm going to talk about forest fires because it seems like it's a never-ending cycle. And since you're a state agency communications director, what is your role in addressing forest fires?
So when we activate for a wildfire, my part of that is to support the non-operational piece of the fire. So the State Fire Prevention and Control Agency is in charge of supporting fire operations, and then emergency management supports everything else of the all the rest of it. So we're looking at sheltering, evacuations, mass care and feeding, donations management, and then eventually re-entry into the site, and then looking at securing the resources that the local jurisdiction needs. So the people, the equipment, and then also the funding.
So there's a lot of moving parts with that then, obviously, because it becomes, I didn't realize that it became such a a monumental task, because you think about just the disaster part, but nobody thinks of the after and the tertiary things that come with it.
Right. We're still recovering from the 2013 floods here in Colorado. So we expect the Marshall Fire that we will still be working on recovery for 5 to 10 years. So the response is unfortunately the faster part of the process. And then someone has to coordinate the ultimate recovery so that people can go back and have they're not going to get back to what they were before the disaster, but they need to get back to a resilient and good community for them to live in.
So I'm going to kind of change this away from what my original question was. What challenges might occur in messaging for a state agency during a disaster?
The number one challenge is just knowing exactly what's happening in the local jurisdiction. So having that timely information and those updates. And the way that we stay in contact with the local jurisdiction is to be part of their PIO teams or their JICs. And so in Colorado, I do that with several of our counties through mobile apps like WhatsApp or GroupMe or Microsoft Teams. So I'm part of that team when they stand up. And then the other side of that is that the state of Colorado has what we call field managers who go out to the local emergency operations center. And our field manager gives me real-time updates as well. And he lets me know what kind of PIO support the county or the local jurisdiction needs.
And then you coordinate all that as it rolls downhill then.
Yes. So I'll stay and be that liaison to the county PIOs, back to the state of Colorado level PIOs, to the governor's office, so that we are saying the right thing. And that we are staying on point and not causing confusion.
And I can see where, you look at the confusion that came out of COVID and the messaging now in the last, I don't know, maybe the last 5 or 6 weeks, where there's been, a give and take just with messaging from one side saying they want this, but yet that they want a rollback of masks, and now there's other. It's very confusing, and I know that for the general public that becomes hard. And during a crisis, you really have to be on point with messaging and very specific.
We do, and we want to make sure that we are in line with the messaging from the local jurisdiction. Because if we aren't, then people start looking for why there's a difference. And our goal is to get them the information as fast as possible to help them start recovery as soon as possible. In the State Emergency Operations Center, we start recovery efforts within the first 24 hours. And so we're kind of dual-hatted with response and recovery, but that all means that we have to stay coordinated with that local message so that people can go down the right path.
Okay. And so you said you guys are using different apps. So obviously you said like WhatsApp for communication, so everybody sees what's going on. Are there like other apps that you're using, like Hootsuite or things like that, or are they proprietary to Homeland Security?
So for communication to local public information teams, they all decide what their teams want to use, and then I join them. So in Colorado, those local teams have lots of different apps that they want to use. It's my job to make sure that I'm tied in with them before the disaster hits. So they may use Microsoft Teams or a Google platform or GroupMe. And so we use those during blue sky days and disasters so that we know how to communicate with each other and what to expect when we need to start helping the community.
So from a public information officer's standpoint, how are you handling self-care when there's a 24-hour news cycle of things that you've got to put out during a disaster?
So my answer to this probably is I am doing a really bad job at self-care. um, but I think that one way that I can, and I do kind of set myself up for success in the long run, is that we push proactive messaging. So we are getting as much information out the door, being as transparent as possible, so that the information is publicly available and people don't have to hunt it down. So we want to make sure that they have it. They don't have to call us in the middle of the night to try and track down the answer to their questions.
And you said you were a fireside PIO before you went into the strategic communications director's position?
Yes, I worked for a fire agency, and I actually worked for South Metro Fire here and there on the weekends to help out their team. I think it's one of the best jobs there is.
Were you a journalism major, or was it just you just ended up into the field?
No, I'm a communications major, and I really wanted to be a public information officer, and the local fire district had an opening that was part-time, and I took that as a chance to get in the door, and then was lucky enough to get mentored by a really great PIO for that fire district, and spent 9 years there, and then joined the state almost 11 years ago.
Okay. So you have been in the field for quite a while. What advice would you have for somebody that wants to get into this field? You obviously you had a desire to be a PIO. There are others out there that want to do the same thing. What advice would you have from your experience background to tell someone how to get involved?
A lot of it is relationship building. So offer to help people, and sometimes you're going to have to kind of take a leap of faith and just get your foot in the door, and then show that you're a great support to that team, and soak in everything that you can. Things are changing much faster now than they were when I started almost 20 years ago. But even then, any opportunity, every training that I had a chance to take, I participated so that I'd have that background and that knowledge, and it would help me better explain what was going on for my agency.
Excellent. So what other training somebody should be looking out for? And then, where do you guys look for from the state agency perspective, or I should say at your level, where are you looking for training?
So we do provide and follow the FEMA public information training schedule. So you have that basic PIO training, the advanced training back at Emmitsburg, and the master PIO course. So I have done all those. I'm a master PIO, but it doesn't stop there. There are any social media training that you can get your hands on. I would take that. There's lots of good courses through the National Disaster Preparedness Center. A lot of local agencies or PIO groups offer them and bring in trainers. In the state of Colorado, we have the Emergency Services PIOs of Colorado, and we host those monthly trainings. So I highly recommend finding your local and state PIO groups, and again, taking advantage of any of those hands-on opportunities.
Great. And I'm going to ask I should have asked this question before, it's kind of backwards. What social media platforms are you guys using at the state level?
So at the state level, we use Twitter as our first platform to push information out as it's occurring, Facebook, Instagram, and then we do have a growing suite of mobile apps that we use as well.
And by mobile apps, which ones are those? Can you give an example?
So they are created for the state of Colorado's Emergency Management Office. So there's a co-emergency app, and it has preparedness information, how to communicate with accessibility in mind so that you're accessible and inclusive. And then we host several conferences and training opportunities. And so we have some apps so that people can get all of that information and it's accessible for their needs.
Okay, great. All right. So let me lighten this up a little bit. I'm going to go to some rapid fire questions.
All right.
All right. Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
What do you do to relax and disconnect?
We have some property that's outside of Denver, and I go there, and it's very quiet, can see all the stars. That's the best place to go.
What's a must-read book in your mind?
A book that I got many years ago, and it's going to sound kind of heavy, but it's called The Worst Is Over, and it's how to talk to people and help promote healing, kind of that verbal first aid. And it's been one of the most useful books I've ever read.
Oh, excellent. I'll have to take a look at it. If you could go back in time and give your 18-year-old self advice, what would it be?
I think it would be not to worry so much about getting the high grades and spending so much time on school assignments and all that stuff, to enjoy life a little more.
I like that. Favorite drink of choice?
A latte. I start every morning with a hot coffee.
There you go. And if you could get a superpower, what would it be?
Oh, this one is, I think, the hardest. Maybe something that would help me be more patient.
Another
you
good
know,
one.
as we deal with all of these time-sensitive issues and try and solve problems on the go, I probably could use a little bit more patience.
I think the entire world could use more patience. Yes, I agree. Micki, final thoughts. Anything you'd like to add?
You know, one of the biggest things that I'm focused on right now is just reminding folks that if people can't understand us, we aren't doing a good job with our messaging. So really to make sure that we're just using that plain language and painting a picture for folks. They need us when everything's going wrong in their lives on that one day or that week. So really don't worry about all the complicated background of it. Use that plain language and make sure they just know where they can get help, and that we are here, and that they can trust us when we push out information.
Oh, excellent. And how can people best reach out to you if they want to learn more or connect?
The fastest way to reach me is actually on my personal Twitter account, which is at PIO3Micki. And I am on there way too much, but am happy to respond to posts or direct messages.
And I will add that all into the show notes.
All right.
Micki, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for the invite.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast to get notified of the latest episode. If you are listening on a platform that allows reviews, please give us a review. We appreciate any review, good or bad. It helps us improve on each episode. Until next time, be safe.